Kilmer Conference is spun off from Johnson & Johnson and will be managed by Amy and PDA going forward. So there's a bunch of things in the air right now we're trying to figure out and land so that we can go forward appropriately. And then the last thing I think I have is we've been spending the last year establishing committees. You'll hear the updates from them. They've definitely done a lot of work this last year. The one that is coming in last right now in formation is funding. And you'll hear more about this when Kylie brings it up in a few minutes. We are looking for some additional people that are willing to help us form what the funding for KIP looks like through either fundraising or sponsors or what have you. They'll also be looking at the 501c3 aspect as well. So if you're interested in learning more and trying more and expanding your horizons, please think about joining the funding committee. The fun part about KIP is you can try on different hats that you might not have experience from in the past in a hopefully less threatening way. So you don't have to have any experience in finance. Some is most welcome, but what we're really looking for is people who are interested and enthusiastic and willing to put some effort forth. I think that's all on my slide from the EC updates, isn't it, Kat?
Yes, I'm going to change, go to the next one in a second. So I'm just going to ask, I see that there is a hand raised. John, do you have access to the chat? So I would ask that if someone has the chat access, if you could drop questions in there, we'll do a question section at the end, unless there's something pressing right now. Okay. Moving on. Go ahead.
Oh, yes, I can't forget about this one. Ralph has done a great job of working with Amy in getting our MS team set up within Amy. As you may or may not be aware, we did have our own standalone system through MS Teams up through about April when they discontinued the free option for people to use. And so Amy was gracious to welcome us into their confines of their MS Team structure. It's been a little bit of a bumpy ride. Please work with your PM or committee leader, but you can always contact me, or Ralph. I'm reading off the slide at the same time. If you have any difficulties accessing it, I think we're aware of most of them, but if you do not have access yet, please do let us know. And then the next slide is the vision and mission. So again, the question is it time to look at these and revisit these? So if you have interest in working on that, please let me or Ralph know. With that, next people. Thanks, Kat.
Charlie and Nora, you're doing this part, right? You're on mute, Charlie.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, so you're going to follow me, Hank, on this, on your part. So I guess I'll lead with the name change for our group. Let's speed things up. All of us sort of felt like we weren't really, it was kind of a broad subject. It was difficult for us to really kind of get our heads around. So we felt like a lot of the other groups had already approached the discussion of speeding things up. I mean, I think it's our aim on several of the other groups. So the Breaking Bad biases we came up with, and this will be our name of our group moving forward, was based on us identifying that a lot of the industrial biases have been problematic. One that we sort of developed as some confirmation bias. In validation, a lot of the medical device manufacturers are having an issue with their validation where they're not revisiting the validation based on a loss of version bias. And so we hope to sort of point out 6 or 7 different of these biases, assign groups to these, and look at ways that we can really help the industry sort of revisit things like validation so they don't get stuck. I mean, I see it every single day where device companies are hanging on to a validation that risks the process of getting their device sterile to the point of care because they're no one wants to reopen and sort of imagine or explore if there's any holes in their validation. And so we hope to do that. I think our takeaway is going to be infographics, instructional videos, also a lot of awareness discussion around it's okay to have changes and sort of move away from that sort of strict mindset that MDM have about revisiting validation. So that's basically what we hope to do. Nora, did you want to chime in?
No, that's a great intro. We were struggling to really find like the nugget that we wanted to plant and nurture on the let's speed things up side, and we kind of looked at it from a different context of these. What are some of the biases that we have in the industry? How can we break through some of those barriers? A lot more ideas and nuggets started to come about that we want to take forward. So this is kind of a call to action. If you're interested in any of these topics or interested in getting involved, we would love to have more momentum. So thank you.
Okay. So real quick, I want to give, there's one major project under what used to be Let's Speed Things Up, now Breaking Bad Biases, and that is Wicked Stability. I suspect many of you have heard about this in some way, shape, or form over the last couple of years. Just wanted to provide a very brief update on a massive protocol that we are 2 or 3 weeks away from kicking off. And that is to really test our hypotheses that that materials don't degrade in the way we use them and in the way we sterilize them. And so we've got 2 different low density polyethylenes, one with antioxidant, that's what the AO stands for. So one without, one with. We're going to either look at them unsterilized or gamma and EO. And I'm not getting into all of the nitty gritty here. And then we're going to store these at 4 different conditions. These are not accelerated aging storage conditions. These are just ways of getting energy into the samples to try and promote degradation. We hope that at least some of these conditions, like at 85 C gamma sterilized at 40, 80, 160 days, we will actually see degradation and functional the performance of the material start to degrade. Now, obviously, we never get anywhere close to those kinds of storage conditions. So next slide, please. And then for each of those materials and sterilization and storage conditions and time points, we're going to look at a bunch of different tests here. So OIT is oxidative induction time. It's a way of looking at how much antioxidant is left in a material. LCMS actually measures it directly, so we will probably only do that intermittently. We're also going to look at molecular weight, because as the polymer degrades, the molecular weight changes. And then off to the right there, we're going to look at some tensile, tear, and puncture properties. And actually just yesterday, we decided that seal strength was a big enough topic on its own. We're going to carve that out of this protocol and create a brand new one that will look at this very, very comprehensively as a function of all of the things on the previous slide. So.
Awesome. So I will speak on kit aseptic presentation. Our group is led by myself, Sarah Rosenblum, and then Melinda Elamari. Melinda, I think you're here, right? Maybe.
Sorry. Yes, I'm here. I was on mute.
Awesome. So we just wanted to kind of start with a little roadmap of where our group has been and kind of where we're headed. So we started first with our observation study that we presented at the Kilmer conference. And during that, we were just looking to find kind of what are the different ways that end users are opening packages in the environment, and how does that kind of correlate to what type of pouch that is. Then from there, we kind of realized, all right, we have all this data on how people interact with packages. Now let's try to figure out, what makes opening methods the best for the specific type of packaging that they're interacting with. So from there, we decided we want to create a method that basically helps you evaluate opportunities for microbial transfer while opening packages. So we're using a fluorescent agent and interacting with packages with that fluorescent agent and evaluating the amount of fluorescent agent that gets in areas or transfers from the end user to the package. So we're currently working on that method. We did hit some roadblocks. We were evaluating if you put the fluorescent agent on your hands and the package, just your hands, just the package. We've really kind of worked through a bunch of different ways to evaluate it. And through that, we kind of hit some roadblocks as to ways to make it a suitable method for like an ASTM standard. So we've since decided to focus on the hands-only method. So that is applying the fluorescent agent only to your hands and interacting with packages. And so now we're working on developing that method. We're going to use it internally to our group to help try to answer the question of what's the best method to open certain types of pouches. And hopefully the end goal of that would be to enhance end user training. So instead of it being kind of the wild, wild west of training in the end user environment, it would have a specific training method that would be backed by the science that we're investigating with this method to prove, you know, the dump technique truly is the best, or kind of prove out some model like that. So our current process is that hands-only method. Our objective going forward is to, like I said, utilize that method on our own study, but then in the long run, it is to try to release that through ASTM. Next slide, Kat. Awesome. So this is a lot of information in one slide, but I just kind of wanted to give a sort of Gantt chart look of what we're doing and a timeline of what we're doing. So like I said, we're developing this hands method. We're trying to get that done almost by the end of the year, and then we're going to utilize it. We're also in the same kind of parallel working on the template creation for ASTM. So we're working through the method submission there. Then the biggest kind of next big lift we have is trialing the method. So we want to do a interlaboratory study of sorts, not officially through ASTM yet, but sort of trialing it ahead of time through KIP. So we are looking for people to volunteer to trial out our method and poke some holes in it, make us question the ways that we developed it. So the commitment on that level would be about a 1 to 2 person team, and we would send you all the materials you need, the fluorescent agent, pouches if you need them. And basically it gives you a great way to kind of interact with the method and try to prove it good or bad. I did want to call out a lot of the people in our group that have been a huge asset to our team. And that's Deanne Dodrell, Gian Lee, Austin Liu, Swanong Pular, Artie Roth, Tony Trier, Matt Terbush, Lori Ferrer, Paula Perez, and Luis Arias. And all of those folks have not only been the kind of test dummies for our method along the way, but they've also played huge parts in trialing the method out, writing the method together. You know, we challenge each other every day, and it's been a lot of fun. We meet weekly. We're really pushing to get this to market as quickly as possible so that we can use it, and then hopefully other folks can use it as they develop packages and they get through their R&D phase of packaging. So next slide, please. My call to action is to volunteer to be in the interlaboratory studies, or the pseudo interlaboratory studies we're doing. Nora, I saw you volunteer, so thank you for being the first. But we will connect with anyone that wants to trial out the method for us. Just shoot me an email. My email's there at spatak@canyonlabs.com, as well as LinkedIn or my cell phone number. So if you're interested, let us know. We'll get you on the list. We'll send you the materials, and we'll give you the instructions of what we need to connect on the study. Next slide. The next piece of our group is we actually just had a new charter come about as we've been progressing through different kind of conundrums within aseptic presentations. So Michael Johnston came up to me at the PACkout, I believe last year.
Correct.
And he had this amazing story that he told at the pack out about his personal experience. And I won't ruin it, Michael. I'll let you kind of share the piece here, but we're really excited to have his new venture launching within our group. And take it away, Michael.
Absolutely. Thank you. So my name is Michael Johnston, and back in 2011, when I was 13 years old, I was diagnosed with a large cancerous brain tumor. In the hospital, one thing that I really did not like was how noisy the medical packaging was, especially single-use sterile devices that were used bedside. There were times when I needed my IV fluid changed in the middle of the night. Just how noisy the medical packaging was really got to me. At night, when I get my IV fluid changed, they'd open up the polystyrene bag with the fluid in it, and that would wake me up from a deep sleep. And I'd get very angry because sleep is very precious in the hospital. And whenever I would get an IV started, I'd hear the sound of the pouches being torn open, and I would learn to associate, pain is coming when I would hear the packaging. And so my project here is going to be going out and researching patients and getting patient feedback on medical packaging, seeing what else patients don't like about bedside or home packaging for medical devices, and then starting to research new ways of testing and developing these materials to reduce dissatisfaction amongst patients.
Next slide, Kat.
Okay.
Oh,
Now it's
oops.
the
I thought we
last
had
one,
one more slide that was just like the call to action to join Michael's group, but never mind, going on.
I think that was at the bottom of that one.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Well, reach out to Michael if you're interested in joining that group. It's in its infancy, so we are needing folks to want to be on that committee. So you can reach out to myself or Michael, and we're gonna kind of tag team it, getting it off the ground, and then Michael's running with it. So
And
thank
we'll
you,
have some
Michael.
of this information again at the end. So.
Awesome.
Okay. Remember the last 100 yards?
Great. Next slide.
Are you seeing it? Jen, you might
Yeah.
be on mute.
Sorry, yep, it looked like it went forward a extra slide.
And this is the one that comes up right after. Yep.
There it goes. So thank you guys. Oh, Kat, if you can go back real quick.
What slide are you seeing?
And maybe I'm having a delay. I'm sorry, I'm seeing our second slide.
The soil dry time is the first slide that I had.
We had the intro slide, which is fine.
Okay.
Right. I just wanted to highlight the first one that looks like we're kind of bouncing between, just because I wanted to call out all of the good leadership that Terry has been doing in the group. She recently had to step back a little bit due to some different work constraints and demands, which I know we all deal with at times. And so Hannah and I have taken on co-chair responsibility for the program, with Terry being our ever-loving support and mentor as we need. So I just wanted to take a chance to call out Terry for all the good work that she's done. As you can see, our mission is really looking at the last 100 yards, obviously, which means the time from when the items are delivered to the facility and the point of use. So everything we're doing is really just focusing on the kind of boots on the ground time in our facilities. So one of our projects that Tara and Sue are leading is looking at the impact of soil dry time on medical devices, which we know really impacts our ability to actually effectively reprocess our instrumentation in a safe and effective manner. So they had recently completed a big study that has been published in BINT and is going to be referenced in the upcoming TR 109, which is focusing on the external transport of our different devices. So excellent work there. I think Tara presented at AORN this last year as well. So really getting to showcase all the good work that they've been doing. One of our other projects is repetitive handling, which Kat and I get to work on together. So we see each other on a regular basis in lots of ways. And we did a study actually in 2022 at the National HSPA conference, really looking at how repeated handling is impacting potential contamination on our sterile barrier systems. And we are in the very final draft stages. I know it's been taking a little longer than we expected, but we are wanting to make sure we are very happy with it and not just pushing out too quickly. So we are looking at publishing that in early to 2024, which seems crazy to say, 2024 already. And then we have Austin and Jane who are leading up the characterizing of the last 100 yards. And they're in a little bit of a pause pending some funding. So looking forward, hopefully in the next year to be able to start moving that forward. But they're really wanting to define kind of the roadmap of what all the different steps and areas that a device travels through in the last 100 yards. Kat and Kathy are doing the external transport project, and they're really just looking at all of the different conditions and stresses that our devices and packaging are exposed to in the transport to and from sterile processing departments and other external healthcare facilities, which is a common practice that we have. And so they are in also kind of the later drafting stages and looking to publish in early next year as well. Kat, was there anything else on that one you wanted to add? Okay.
Nope.
And then on our last slide, we have our junk in the trunk, which is in early development. So we are looking to build up both leadership and actually the team itself. And I believe David's on the call here too. So if he wants to add anything to that, he sure can. But we're looking at how our sterile medical devices and kits that are often transported in the trunks and cars of our different company reps and industry reps, what the impact is on that. So definitely looking for members, and just have some images of some of the different projects that we've been doing. So lots of happy smiling faces from all of our different hardworking team members. So thank you everybody for all that you're doing.
All right. Now, Kylie with sustainability end of life.
Thank you, Kat. You can jump into the next slide. So as some of the other programs have experienced in 2023, we've had some transition, but also some growth. So we've added some subject matter expertise along the value chain. We did have some leadership transition with Jen Goff needing to take a step back. And as we've had that transition, some leaders have stepped up in the group and taken more leadership for some of our work streams, which we'll dive into in a couple of slides. Just want to highlight this team. Many of them are represented on the call today, so that makes me very happy. Next slide. So this is a refresh on a slide we share frequently when we try to reference or maybe ground the scope of this group. So when we think of sustainability, we also often think about things like recycling, which is very important. And there's excellent work being done downstream by industry groups like HPRC. KIP's efforts are focused upstream and overcoming the barriers to advancing and making progress. So we're focused on driving collaboration with other industry groups, building consensus, educating and arming stakeholders with a business case for change. And you can hit the next slide. So as many of you are probably aware, our flagship program has been around advanced recycling. And as these materials are coming to market, what are the barriers to adopting them? this program has focused on identifying, defining, and breaking down these barriers to adopting certified circular materials. And Kat, you can hit the next slide.
Okay.
So in the 4 barriers that we've identified, value proposition, manufacturing readiness, regulatory, and education. In 2021 and 2022, we focused on defining the business case, which we've referred to as the value proposition. That workstream has been led by Deepa Rampura from Intuitive and Damian Rodriguez from B. Braun, as well as manufacturing readiness, led by Catherine Hoffman from Eastman. And that includes preparing the supply chain for required certifications or licenses. In 2023, we focused on defining the regulatory barrier and then bolstering our industry education. So we're going to hit a couple of highlights of some of the work that the team has done in industry to drive collaboration, build awareness, and develop some common knowledge. So this first slide, the next slide, highlights our collaboration with MDPTC to develop foundational content around sustainability for medical device packaging professionals and instruct the inaugural Fundamentals of Medical Device Packaging course. So this collaboration leverages the expertise and passion in KIP and brings diverse voices to each class. This project was led by Anna Thomas from C-Spine. Our inaugural instructor was Zach Moscato from Plastic Ingenuity and Nick Packett from DuPont. And the next course will be held at MDM West in February. I know the group is really looking forward to continuing that partnership. And the next slide. Some KIPsters represented at the PAC out in May. So this is Deepa Rampura and Anna Thomas. They facilitated a collaborative Q&A session focused on leveraging advanced recycling technologies for sustainably sourced packaging materials. And this session included advanced recycling experts and the first case study in adopting certified circular materials for medical device packaging from J&J. Anna and Deepa solicited crowdsourced questions that the team bucketed following the event, and we're currently collaborating externally to answer these questions with industry partners. Next slide. So a couple of projects that are in the works, some that have been completed and those in the works. In the education work stream led by Nick Packett, the group has developed a self-service educational guide to build foundational knowledge around advanced recycling and what the opportunity is to drive circularity of plastics. Currently, they are working on a content strategy to deploy to reach targeted stakeholders. So more to come, please stay tuned. I also want to give a shout out here to Kennedy Peacock with the Marketing Communications Branding Committee. She's been a fantastic resource and asset to the team. And the next slide, regulatory. So this is, I'll say that this has been just probably the latter half of the year. We've had tremendous progress with the regulatory work stream. I know Hallie Gore, who's been instrumental in this group, is on the call, and this is led by Nathan Vanderschaft from Medtronic. The group's currently working on drafting a technical assessment to prove material equivalency for plastics manufactured through advanced recycling processes. So next step, the group's going to stress test the paper with regulatory stakeholders within the medical device companies represented in KIP. And there'll be a lot more to come here. So there's not a specific call to action right now, but please stay tuned through both the KIP LinkedIn page and the KIP email distribution. There'll be more to come. And that's it.
Thanks, Kylie. Thanks, Kylie. And as we move on to the committee updates, we have crossed our halfway point. So I'm going to hand this over to Tyler, who's going to give an update on the membership committee, and we'll try to keep this moving along.
Hi, everyone. Probably a new face to some people here. My name is Tyler Boyd. I'm a packaging engineer from Michigan State and a client solutions manager for Network Partners. I'm on the membership team here with the all-powerful Kat here, who does, pretty much leads us here, keeps us all organized, as well as Seema and Jen Lauterbach. And we also have Jen Benolkin and Rod kind of overseeing us at the EC level. Our mission here is to help align members' passions with KIP opportunities to drive innovation and maintain engagement. So just trying to find out what it is that has you tick an industry and what you're passionate about, and try to connect you with folks internally that can help drive that passion. And so here's where we're at from a membership summary. It is a free page. It is on LinkedIn. So we've got about 575 members, 249 followers. We have about 100 active participants across the different groups. That number fluctuates kind of all the time here. We're always looking for more. And kind of part of my role here, I kind of have a technical and commercial role with Network Partners. So I'm always advocating for people to join and get involved in KIP. Wherever I can, whether it be at manager, director level, even all the way down to engineer. So yeah, that's where we're looking like now. And please go encourage all your friends to join. We do have a new member packet. So it just kind of summarizes all the programs, and it gives you kind of an overview. If you're an MDPTC by chance, you've maybe seen something similar, also the membership chair there. But yeah, the hope is that we're going to try to be able to engage with people more as they join. So have a conversation with myself or somebody on the team, and kind of be able to share this document with you so that you can know who to go to. The hyperlinked names there give you their profile. We don't really have everybody's email, and we're not really kind of allowed to there. So, but you can go, and if you're interested in any of the programs, you can click on there and send them a LinkedIn message. You've heard from some of them today. They would be more than thrilled to talk with you more on getting involved. And then, yeah, trying to connect with people more on a quarterly basis there. So it's a little bit hard to track everybody on when they're joining. So we're going to maybe try to do it in a bigger bolus there. I think we're good on this side. Kat?
Yeah. Thanks, Tyler.
You got it.
Now we've got Kennedy coming up.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. So my name is Kennedy Peacock. I'm the chair of the Marketing, Communications, and Branding team. We talked a little bit about this last year, but our mission is to do marketing and communications for KIP, connecting those the things that are happening internally with external channels, connecting each other internally. That's really what we're here to do. And so all the cool things that are happening throughout all of KIP, those are the things that we'll be communicating with you on a plethora of different channels. You can see who's on our team, but yeah, you can go switch. Yeah, thanks. So our 2023 wins, we've solidified some brand guidelines in our membership manual. We've worked a lot cross-functionally across KIP in order to solidify some of those things. PowerPoint templates, shout out to Peter. He's been doing a lot of really great work, kind of making everything consistent. So shout out to him. Updating those logos. And then also, as mentioned previously, we have established a LinkedIn company page. There is a call to action to scan that QR code. Again, we have 2 QR codes. We're really great communicators here. But scan that QR code and it'll take you to our LinkedIn page. You can follow us. But that is where we will be communicating externally about things that are going on. We previously had a group, but please use the new company profile in order to get your most updated information. Looking forward to 2024, our roadmap is really going to be focused on building out our communication avenues. We're looking at building out this membership newsletter. If you want to stay up to date with all things that are going on in KIP and what our KIPsters are doing, feel free to email me. That email is right there to get on that list, or you can just put your email in the chat. Make sure that we have it and that you consent to receiving that email. That would be great. Other things, consistent social media updates from committees, program, and leadership. That is something that we're definitely going to be doing more next year, just to keep you all involved. And then there is opportunity or potential KIP website in the future that's also dependent on funding, things like that. But if you have any questions, ideas, or would like to join our team, if you are an engineer and have always been interested in marketing communications and seeing what goes on, feel free to join our team. We would love to have you. My email again is in the red. So yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you, Kennedy. Now I've got KIP Ed. Oh, Peter,
You're on mute.
Still on mute.
I guess this should be better, right?
Yes.
Yes. Well, thank you. My name is Peter van Gool. I'm co-chairing this education committee together with Tanja Magana and interim co-chair Austin Liu. And I think, Austin, when I'm looking at this picture and David, I think we can do a wish with all these great women with us on our side. So, but anyway, talking about us in the sterility assurance value chain, we all have different interpretations or limited knowledge on how sterile packaging is handled from its device and package manufacturing, logistics up to the point of use. And our committee mission is to foster an understanding on the different groups and promote then the best practices and educate it to the stakeholders in this. Because we challenge those that continue to say, and they do how they've always done it. So we're targeting universities, healthcare professionals, and sterile processing departments, packaging professionals, and industry organizations. So enough about who the Education Committee is. So let's talk about our projects. So can you take us to the next slide, please? So there it is. Yeah, we're proud of our achievements this far, and we wanted to highlight some. Well, we've been active with podcasts, what you see here, for Spot Radio with Charlie Webb and Process This and Beyond Clean. But we also published a white paper where we educated on the basics on the development, validation, qualification, and process of medical device packaging. And we did that for healthcare professionals and medical device manufacturers, but then from a packaging engineer's perspective. So in the meantime, our team is working hand in hand with healthcare professionals and Amy on publishing end-to-end educational industry videos. So stay tuned on that and what's going to come. And we really made great progress also in our academic outreach. And for that being said, I'd like to hand it over to Austin Liu, who's going to talk particularly about this for a moment. Austin.
Awesome. Thanks, Peter. So KipEd is very excited about our academic outreach efforts. So far this year, we created a short list of universities that offer packaging engineering, biomedical engineering, and healthcare professional degrees, where we hope to influence interdisciplinary and immersive education. We traveled to both UW Stout and Clemson University to educate our students on healthcare packaging formats and aseptic presentation. And we're also working on industry collaboration with the International Safe Transit Association, or ISTA, ASTM International, and the Institute of Packaging Professionals. Again, you've heard MDPDC called out a few times today. And then lastly, we submitted an abstract to the PACOut to present on our project work in 2024. Next slide, please. So on this slide, we really wanted to recognize and commend 3 of our members for going above and beyond, really representing the spirit of KIP. Melinda Elamari, Melinda Harmon, and Minda Grusin, thank you so much for making the effort to go to UW Stout and Clemson and really just owning being a KIPster. Next slide, please.
Okay. Now we've got the fundraising committee. Kylie, I believe you were doing this one.
I believe I was voluntold that. So the fundraising committee, you may remember Dan Dodrell, treasurer, and member of the EC, had covered this, I believe, during the last all-member meeting. And Dan kicked things off, I believe it was back in August. So we're just getting things rolling. We're currently focused on defining the scope. What are the goals? What are the needs? What do people need funds for in KIP? We will be, if you are interested, by the way, in getting involved, please reach out. We are going to be putting rubber to the road here in late Q4 and getting things rolling with a survey to program leaders, the program managers and committee leaders to really understand what the needs are for funding KIP projects. So really the call to action here is reach out if you're interested in getting involved. And I did see in the chat a couple of folks, including David Jagrossi, express interest. So stay tuned. If you're interested, you will receive a scheduling poll for the next meeting.
Okay, thanks, Kylie. So since we were basically within the last 10 minutes, originally we were going to have sort of like an open discussion, and we may go back to this one, but I want to kind of keep moving forward if we can, because I think there's still a couple more slides and I see that there are some hands up. So I'm going to hand this over to Seema to kind of close out and lead us to our questions.
All right, sounds good. So before we conclude today's meeting, here's the list of calls to action that were presented today during this meeting. If you're interested in joining the method development team, please contact Sarah. If you're interested in the new noise reduction venture, contact Michael. And for joining the new Last 100 Yards project, contact Catherine. And lastly, don't forget to follow KIP on LinkedIn. Next slide, please. Today we've talked about a lot of programs and grassroots efforts through KIP. And as we approach the end of our meeting here today, it is worth noting that if you have any of your own ideas for new initiatives, new industry projects, then please reach out to the relevant program leaders, committee leaders, or even the executive committee. KIP is a great place to start, to bring those ideas alive, to pursue them collaboratively and have a lot of fun in the process. So as we said, don't forget to follow KIP's LinkedIn page if you haven't done so already. Here's the QR code for your convenience, and we can open it up for questions or any comments from the attendees today before we close.
So I see, Jerry, that you have a question. What can we help with?
Hello, Catherine. Hello, Seema. Hello, team. How are you? Quick question for me regarding, it's maybe an ask really for you, that you know, from a research point of view and funding point of view, we never get as much money as we want in that area. Okay, no matter, even if you did get more money, you'd still have more questions and you'd still have more research needs. So you know, what we've been trying to do as an industry is look at ways of how do we prioritize those, right? And so my call for you wanted is that not to forget that we do have the Kilmer funds available through AMI, and you know, we have, I think, been rather generous with some of the proposals that have come in from the from this team, right, and members of this team, which is great. So I mean, if this team can even, you know, get a little bit more involved with that to promote the Kilmer funds. Remember, there's grants as well as you know, scholarships available for people. But also, if you could help us prioritize those areas that you feel would make the most impact in this area, I can tell you that the Kilmer team will be interested to learn more about that and fund certain proposals when they come up. So just bear that in mind for us. That money is available, and some of you have also been involved with that also.
Yeah, that would be great. We can definitely take that back. The one question that I have, and we'll get on from there, is, and it's maybe an ask of you, Jerry, if you know if the AMI committee that kind of goes through those funds gives any sort of guidelines around what sort of funding, what are the requirements that they're looking for in order to get that kind of funding approved. That way we can make sure when we are setting up those requests and doing those grant proposals that they're meeting everything and their effective uses of our time and your time in when you're going through and reviewing them.
Sure. I mean, what we are doing is we're updating some of that to maybe streamline the process somewhat. So keep an eye on the AMI website on that, and you know, I can send you, I can send the team maybe the link on that. Take a look at that, and you know, also it's a call that if you wanted to have a member of this team be a representative on our team that helps with the review of those proposals, you know, we do actually have quite a good group of people on it, but we're always looking for new talent to be involved with that. So if you're interested in that, we're interested, and bearing in mind as well that that team is not necessarily just looking at medical devices, they're looking at medical devices and on the pharma side as well. So when you say packaging, I hear, you know, container enclosure, for example, that, so just consider that full remit of packaging would be great as well. So Catherine, let me know what I can do to help you with that and get you the information out to the team.
That'll be great. We will definitely volunteer someone for that group. Kylie Kufkoff or someone in your group. And we'll get that to you. Thank you, Jerry. So then I think next up we had Glenn and possibly John. I know his hand's gone up a couple times. So
Okay, so Glenn Wright, I'm the president and CEO of PDA, and I'm happy to be with you today. There were some questions coming in at the very beginning about PDA and AMI. Where are we at in the transfer of the Kilmer Conference? We have our MOU in place between AMI, PDA, and J&J, so that's done. We're working on our finals of the agreement between PDA and AMI. We're very good comparable organizations as far as we specialize in different areas. So it's a real nice situation, and we're excited about that. You know, for the Kilmer collaboration teams, you will all be very happy to hear that we are considering you to be independent groups. We have no oversight of what you do, right? And I think that's what the Kilmer collaboration teams really wanted, and so we're happy to be able to do that. Now, the downside is of course that we don't provide physical support other than the collaboration site, which we've agreed either AMI or PDA will help on the Microsoft Teams space. But other than that, you're free to do what you want to do, how you want to do it. Again, it's a very loose relationship. You don't come under the oversight of AMI or PDA, and so you can't use our names, of course, because again, you don't have that, you don't come under the oversight, but I think you're fine with that. So really it's set up, I think, exactly the way the Kilmer collaboration teams wanted that to be, and we're happy to do that. So we'll come together, we'll put together the conference. We will of course include the Kilmer collaboration teams in the planning of that conference. That's what we want to do, because it's around innovation, and that's kind of how we see it. And I know that I think Amanda's on the line as well. Anything to add from that standpoint?
I think you covered it, Glenn. Thank you.
Oh, there's Pamela. Hi, Pamela. I didn't see you when you joined. So great. So anything, Pamela, you want to add?
Actually, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, good deal. As far you said it well, Glenn. I will offer that Amanda, because we have her focused around sterilization at Amy, she's helping to facilitate the quarterly meetings so that we can give you support in that regard. The other aspect of it is we do have facilities, and from that standpoint, if you're finding that there's a need to meet face to face, as long as it doesn't conflict with other meetings that we have in the space, we're looking to support you in that vein. We have been reached out by Joyce and Jeff relative to some of the guidance that are given to the work groups, and we're talking through that to see about the best way to get people to bring their names forward so that that can be put in place, because people found value in that. We understand from the work groups, but it's not so much to do what Amy or PDA is specifically wanting, but to put in place what you find useful, and you have a voice in all that. The only other thing I'd like to add is I appreciate Jerry's comments, because the Amy Foundation, we have these grants that are specifically focused on this sort of thing. And if the word isn't getting out on how best to access those funds, then it isn't going where the donors are wanting it to go. So I'm excited by the possibility of you getting much more active in regards to that. And I highly encourage you to submit, because that is what the intent is from the donor standpoint. But Glenn, well said, and Jerry, thank you for chiming in on the Kilmer Fund. Any questions for me or Glenn or Amanda?
I think we're good, unless someone has anything. We've also, I know I saw John, we've got 3 minutes, and I know I saw John Wilder had a question all the way from the beginning. And I mean, I congratulate him on holding off on that and waiting. So thank you for your patience, John. And I think I saw it in the chat. Was your question just around what the member at large means and what is involved with that?
I had a couple of comments, but nothing further to say. They've been resolved in the chat. Thank you.
Okay. And I apologize. I'm just looking through the chat now. So are there any other questions anyone has? All right. Well, then thank you all for joining. It was great speaking with you. And I think, like it was said many times, if you're already not on our LinkedIn company page, not the group page, please go follow us on there so you can see and kind of keep up with what's going on, because we do have movement going, even though we've got a lot of calls to actions. We've got a lot of stuff going on, and we want to make sure that 2024 keeps moving so that we are ready for Kilmer when it comes back around in 2025. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone, for calling in.
Yes.
Thanks, bye.
Have a good one.